Spirituality is a word that is not commonly used in organizations or businesses because it's something that is looked upon as something very personal to individuals. And that separation happened 600 years ago with the Cartesian duality of keeping technology and science on one side and spiritual thinking, religion, and the humanities on one side. And the world has created ourselves a problem with that separation, I believe, in creating technologies that may be hurting the environment, hurting human beings. So now spirituality is now being talked about, starting to be talked about and acknowledged in the mainstream world. So there was a time where we only acknowledged the IQ, intelligence quotient. And then in the 1980s, organizational leaders realizing, and researchers realizing that we are emotional beings. People like Daniel Goleman introduced emotional intelligence, and that was brought into organizations in acknowledging people's emotions. However, the other part, the hara, our spiritual core, the grounding comes from here. That has been ignored. Our intuition comes from there. People like Cindy Wigglesworth have approached that in terms of her book, Spiritual Intelligence. And now we are finding that organizations are acknowledging the fact that we are spiritual beings. So what is spirituality? Spirituality is something that's beyond us, beyond our logical, rational realms in terms of the life of things that are the miracles of life that you and I cannot easily explain, but we have faith in the fact that, yes, I will go to sleep and wake up in the morning. There's a miracle about that, isn't it? And then what happens to me after death? So all of those things then lend ourselves to look at spiritual practices to ground ourselves in the uncertainty of life, and religion plays a part of that too. But again, so organizations now are starting to bring it on board. So organizations like Google has a compassionate project, Ting Mang's project on search inside yourself, the meditation mindfulness project, acknowledged our spirituality as spiritual being in our holistic way of living. So people like Ronald Heifetz, Professor Heifetz from the Kennedy School of Business, a leadership project, talks about spirituality too. So it's being now talked about in mainstreams. Louis DeFry, professor from Tarleton University, got into this topic for organizations back in the 1980s, has an interesting paper written about it too. So I believe that our organizations and our leadership structures and the world will become a better place when we acknowledge the fact that, yes, we are rational, logical beings, but we have a heart, we are emotional beings, but we are also spiritual beings, and we need to be spiritually grounded also to create that whole person, the whole being. And part of that practice for me is based on the mindfulness practice to bring that to my awareness. I'm speaking here from the Cleveland Flats in Ohio, United States of America. It is all these old buildings, businesses and factories that have been transformed now into living spaces for people.